know that inside of you, yourself is calling and needing attention that shores up its sense of itself to be able to meet the circumstances and grow beyond them and do us the favor of healing.
Welcome to the Shaping Freedom podcast, where we dive into conversations that inspire personal growth, transformation, and clarity in challenging times. I'm your host, Lisanne Basquiat. Our guest today is a woman who has mastered the art of weaving her purpose through multiple dimensions of life. Many of you know Tina Lifford as the powerful and beloved Aunt V on Queen Sugar, a character who exuded resilience, warmth, and wisdom. But beyond the screen, Tina is an author of the Little Book of Big Lies and the soon-to-be-released Inner Fitness Revolution that is coming out this March 2025. And she's the architect of emotional well-being. She's a woman who has dedicated her life to helping others cultivate what she calls inner fitness. As the founder of the Inner Fitness Project, Tina is leading a movement that encourages people, particularly Black women, to redefine strength, embrace their emotional landscape, and make wellness a non-negotiable priority. Through her work, she teaches that true power isn't just about pushing through life's challenges. So many of us have been told to do that. It's about having the tools to navigate them with grace, self-awareness, and a deep sense of personal agency too. Tina has also been incredibly transparent about her own journey, from caregiving for her mother alongside her sister to navigating the complex emotions of loving someone through addiction. She has shared the realities of healing in a way that is both raw and deeply compassionate. She understands firsthand the weight of generational patterns, family dynamics, and the silent burdens we often carry. And she is here to help us all lighten that load. Today, I feel so honored to have the privilege of diving into your wisdom, Miss Lifford, on emotional resilience, family personal healing, and the power of storytelling as a tool for transformation. So without further ado, Tina Lifford. I'm excited about this conversation because I love that you are a multi-dimensional person and that you are very versed in your craft of acting while also being generous enough to help human beings to have a better experience. And so just by virtue of that, I am super excited to sit down and have a conversation with you.
That touches me. And I'll tell you, it touches me because there's so much of being in this human experience that we know nothing about.
That's right.
Right? And it is so easy to get caught in the very narrow frame that we have adopted in this country. I'm assuming it's across the world, but we are so focused on external achievement and material success and physical appearance while we are dying,
crumbling on the inside.
Yes, absolutely.
Imploding and consequently crumbling on the inside.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I often heard as I was forging my career in the entertainment business, there's the money game, and things aren't always what they appear, and so on and so forth. And all of that stuff has proven to be true. Mm-hmm. And there's very, very little sort of insider talk about, you got to know what this is and you got to know what it isn't.
Right. Right.
You got to know why you're here and have a game plan for yourself, because it's not going to unfold the way you think.
Right.
And there are costs involved. And we should actually have those conversations in general in life.
Yeah.
Because it's not what it appears to be.
Right. And even the conversation around how are you doing?
How are you doing?
Like life as a child, I remember being told what to do.
Yeah.
Get a job, go to college.
Yeah.
I'm first generation. My father was Haitian. It was like, get a white collar job.
Yeah.
Get a house, all those things.
Yeah.
But the how to navigate life as a child, as an adolescent, and into adulthood was something that I discovered within me.
Yes.
Very early on.
Yes.
And something that I had to allow to come up and out of me.
Yes. And something that you have to continue to discover.
Every day. Every day.
There's no stopping point,
That's right.
And I think that is one of the biggest misconceptions and even lies. I watch so many human potential speakers, and it wants to be reduced to do this, learn how to manifest, and then you can manifest the life you want.
One-stop shop.
Right?
3 simple steps. Yeah.
And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. There's truths in that. But to get the full picture, I think we are called to question, to have thoughts about and curiosity about why we're even here.
That's right.
Was I really born?
That is right.
So that I could be an actress in X number of projects? Or was I born to expand into more of whatever this path is, this path meaning life itself. And I get to use acting and anything else, acting, relationships, parenting, whatever, as the playing field on which I do what I'm supposed to do, which is to be a path for life.
That's right.
For the expansion of life, for the fulfillment of an agenda that is bigger than I will ever have the capacity in form to actually understand. My focus is really not on wellness. I prefer to emphasize and highlight well-being because wellness, for the most part, the way we've engaged wellness is as this topical thing. It is a body-based experience.
Okay.
We go to the spa, we get our nails done, we eat clean, we exercise, and all of those things involve taking care of the body. But if we're going to talk about being mindful of the person inside this body, the self inside the body, then I think we need to shift our focus to well-being. And well-being means that we are focusing on the health of our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, and taking note of how they impact our actions and reactions. And from that note-taking, from that mindfulness, from that awareness, we get to see what's working and hold on to that. And more importantly, we get to see what's not working and begin to go in and engineer, rewrite and expand our story.
I love that. How did you know, or when did you discover that there was something within you that saw the need for us to deal with who we are on the inside?
Yeah. You know, I'm an old soul. When I was very young, and the other kids, I have 3 siblings. Our house was a place of gathering. We were the community house. We always had the parties. My parents had the card parties. Just everyone was always at our house. And oftentimes, while the kids were off playing and doing what kids do, and the parents were doing what the parents do, I was by myself doing what I do, which was reading, or more often than not, contemplating. And so I spent a lot of my young years being referred to as strange or weird or, unusual. My mother's best friend, Aunt Lois, who wasn't a relative, but that community aunt.
That's right.
Aunt Lois would come in to the house and say to my mom, "Where is it?" Meaning me. And I knew she loved me. So the "where is it" never felt like an attack. It always felt like a little bit of acknowledgement of the difference. She's doing her own thing. Right. And I wasn't being judged for that. But it oftentimes was considered unusual, if not strange or weird. And those are words that used to hurt my feelings. Strange, weird. But today I embrace the fact that, for whatever the reason, I have a interest in this thing that we are in that prioritizes other things to me.
What were those other things that were prioritized?
Well, how does this work? How does this work? I'll tell you that inner fitness, I have been birthing what is now called inner fitness for decades. And the birthing of inner fitness, it actually started off just with me contemplating. And then I took a 2-year course in spiritual psychology, and I came out of that course with this light bulb, and yeah, it's going to be totally fabulous woman. And then I spent years trying to build, a world around totally fabulous woman. And then it was like, no, that's not it. And it went to waking up fabulous. And then, no, that's not it. And then one morning, literally, I opened my eyes. Well, before I opened, I actually read on the back of my eyelids, or the inside of my eyelids, inner fitness. And I opened my eyes and went, oh my God, that's it. That's it. It says everything. And it includes everyone. And so I was very excited that this thing that I do believe, I know, and I know that you know, and I know that everyone listening knows this, whether we have consciously taken a moment to acknowledge it. But when we let our minds contemplate something, want something, when we are looking for an answer, when we are curious, trying to figure something out, all of a sudden, things begin to happen that bring that answer, right to your door.
That's right. Whether you see it or not.
Whether it brings the answer right to you.
Yeah.
right? And so when I opened my eyes, when I saw inner fitness and opened my eyes, I was like, oh my goodness gracious, of course, that's it. And I thought that, I had just been given something from the universe that was mine and unique to me. And I went to grab the URL for it, and it was taken. Inner fitness was taken. Well,
that's mine.
How can that be? But what I saw was the innerfitness.com was a woman who did meditation tapes, right? And so I became the Inner Fitness Project because for me, the vision of inner fitness in the world matches the vision of physical fitness in the world. And meditation tapes and any meditation tapes, any of the modalities that align with the strengthening of the inner self, any of those modalities are inner fitness. And what has been missing is everything has been siloed as though they're separate. But just like with physical fitness, there are a ton of ways you can consciously and responsibly address your physical fitness. And it may not be the way this person over here addresses theirs. So when it comes to something so foreign as spending time with a self we were never taught that we have, the Inner Fitness Project finds it important to go, okay, so under this umbrella called inner fitness, there are all of these options, just like with physical fitness, that you can explore and see what fits or feels right for you. And there's, of course, what we do at the Inner Fitness Project that is specific to, us.
Mm-hmm.
How I have learned to navigate the world.
And it's also the different, just like working out physically, working out your physical body, there are also different parts of us that are stronger or
Absolutely.
weaker that
Absolutely.
need a different prescription or a different recipe for resolution.
Absolutely. And I love that you make such a clean and clear analogy, because it's also the case with everything about physical fitness.
That's right.
Sometimes you don't want to do it. Sometimes you get that body to a place, or you get your physical strength to a place that you begin to feel invincible, and then you get away from your routines, and all of a sudden you've got weight, or you've got flab, or you've got a lack of energy that requires that you re-engage.
Mm-hmm.
So taking care of self,
Yes,
whether it is physical or internal, mental, emotional, spiritual, requires what I call ongoing effort. And effort, in my book, The Inner Fitness Revolution, effort is my acronym. And I so love it. So I'm going to share it with you.
please.
Effort is extracting freedom from our restricted thinking.
Effort, extracting freedom from our restricted thinking. I love that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It is the journey of life is the journey of confronting those limiting beliefs, whether those limiting beliefs are the byproduct of ignorance, meaning we just weren't taught. And that's the case more often than not.
Of course. And we're programmed. That is what it is about. We are like computers. We are programmed. We're programmed to believe certain things. We're programmed to behave certain ways.
Yes.
And then you get to a point where you are presented, like you mentioned earlier, the opportunity to reflect and to contemplate on whether or not your programming is in alignment with the life that you truly want to live. Right. And that's where that work starts, is right there in that moment of either acceptance or rejection.
Yeah. Yeah. It's right on. It's so accurate. And the thing that we must be aware of is that the conditioning, the programming, so many of us are unaware that we are conditioned and programmed. And that's fair. To be unaware of that is fair, because those are not concepts or thoughts that we are taught to engage. Yet, back in 400 BC, it was Socrates, and actually someone even before Socrates said that the edict is to know thyself, right? That's such a powerful call to action. Know thyself. And that now is the time in human evolution where we really must shift from this externalized experience of self into an internal curiosity that defines us from the inside out. Because everything out here changes. Everything out here holds us in a state of fear and insecurity, because if who we are is only defined through what's out here, then we're always aware that what's out here could change tomorrow, not be here when I wake up. And that can't help but leave us in a state of insecurity and fear, which throws us into survival mode.
Exactly. Do you know that we have a line of Shaping Freedom wellness products? Each are beautifully crafted and designed to support you in cherishing your mind, body, emotions, and soul. Carve out a sanctuary in your life with our Luxe sustainable yoga and meditation mats, essential oil candles, and more. Embrace self-care and reflection with every item, lovingly created to enhance your daily practice of spending time on you. Elevate your wellness journey with Shaping Sanctuary Collection, because you deserve to feel balanced, nurtured, and inspired. Visit shapingsanctuary.com for more information. When did you realize that this was work that you wanted to do, or this was information that you wanted to share?
I love that you actually came back to that, because you asked that question in a different way earlier, and I went off on a tangent.
No, we are dancing here. I love it. The reason I came back to the question is because there are people who are at a different point in their lives where maybe they feel like they're it, and maybe they don't feel as comfortable with that self-identity, or people who are at a crossroad where their lives are maybe not going in the direction that they want to go in.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that people feel and know that people who want to do this work and who maybe are in a more traditional, that's not the right word, but who are in a life that maybe doesn't see the value in this, I think it's important that those folks get validated. And that there's a rally cry. Right? And that they understand that it's not always about being out on a mountain by yourself with no one
Yes.
around.
Yes.
It's how do you recognize that within yourself as you're walking down the street, driving in your car, taking care of your children.
We're going to be best friends.
We are friends already. We are friends already. I have been following you. I have been listening to you, and the language that we share is very interesting.
Yeah. Well, so I want to answer the question, and then I want to but quickly speak to the language that we share. I love that phrase because the language that we share shows up in words.
Mm-hmm.
It shows up in a heartbeat, like I can meet you and feel like there is simpatico.
That's right.
And that's a heartbeat,
yep.
right? And so I'm always looking for my people.
Me too. Me too.
I'm always looking for you. I'm looking for you, girl.
Yeah, I know. I've been looking for you. We're here. We're here for a reason. I know.
And so this is the part of the journey that I really value. I've always considered myself an authentic person.
Mm.
I've always considered myself a conscious person, right? And I had years ago, like in fifth grade, a fifth grade trauma on stage in front of the entire student body when I signed up for the school talent show. I signed up to sing, and the day of the talent show, I was in gym class at like 9:00. We got the roster that gave us the order for the performances that would take place in the afternoon. I took a look at the roster, saw my name as number 1, and went, oh! And that went with me throughout the rest of the day. And when I stepped on the stage, the was there. And I started singing Old Man River. Old Man River. And could never say another word.
Mm.
I was frozen. Everything went black. I saw lights, the light like I'm seeing this light here. I was absolutely gone and could not move. I was in that fight, flight, or freeze. I was in terror.
Yeah.
And finally, I could hear the pianist trying to help me. But finally, my teacher, one of my teachers, had to come to center stage and pick me up. Literally pick me up in order for me to get off the stage. And that is the story told by someone who knew in the second grade that I wanted to be an actress.
Mm.
And so I don't remember that event being a big deal. I don't remember it being a big deal. I think I even was a little surprised that, the next day or after school, there wasn't the kind of harassment or shame, that you might expect. I don't remember it being a big deal. But fast forward, and I'm in my career, forging my career, having successes, and for whatever the reason, that moment gets triggered.
Mm.
And now I find myself, when I get the call from the agent, going into some version of that stuck place. And there were a number of things. First off, I would just will myself through it, right? Because it was an audition thing. It wasn't a on the set thing, right? I would will myself through it. And then I would, just find as many tools and affirmations and so on to quell the moment. And then I dropped into, this is mine to heal. And if I use this for my expansion, then I learned something that I can share. And it was all that conscious, because what I really did not like about the experience, not just that there would be overwhelm that I did not know how to manage, but I didn't like that it painted me as this fraud. How can I be confident and, authentic and honest and have wisdom that was beyond my years, and at the same time have this breakdown. Those two things didn't align in my head. And so all of that became the puzzle that my life was designed to sort of figure out. And not only has that experience been teaching me and growing me since the 5th grade, let's say, or actually my 20s when it came up again.
But unconsciously, it had to be there for it to be triggered at some point later on.
Exactly. And so from the 20s till now, that one experience is the source of so much growth, so much freedom. But more than freedom, because everyone wants to know and hear that the thing that challenges them can be wiped away. And I can tell you that I'm not sure if that's the case. But what I know for sure is that how I am with it, how I am with myself in it, how I think about it, and the amount of judgment-free consideration of it that I live in today. Oh, those are gifts that I could not have imagined would be there. And so when I am working at the Inner Fitness Project, we do workouts, we do programs that, again, much like physical fitness, I believe that, 1 hour at a time, we can transform our lives. We can go from this level of restricted thinking into this level of restricted thinking, right? And so it has been exciting for me to be able to see people come in and have these judgments about self, and truly, authentically, with every cell in my body, be able to help them through that, help them to reframe that thinking, because our pain is rarely connected to the events in our lives. Our pain is connected to how we think and feel about ourselves.
That's right.
Because of those events.
Right. Or the story we've told ourselves.
That's what we're talking
about the event.
Yes.
The meaning that we make out of the things that happen.
In the little book of Big Lies, I call it the lies. The lies that we ingest and digest about ourselves that distort our sense of self and then separate us from this rich resource that we are.
That's right.
That holds all of our answers. I again, when you spend the kind of time thinking about these things that I spend, there are so many wonderful aha moments and phrases that jump up. And when I realized, oh my God, we treat ourselves like we are a problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like there's something wrong with us, when the truth is that we are the answer.
That's right.
To every problem that we experience. We are the answer that we're looking for. But we have to step into relationship with ourselves from a new premise. And at the Inner Fitness Project, the premise is that the self matters. That inside of you, me, and each one of us is a self. And that self requires time and attention, quality time and attention to thrive. James Baldwin, and I hope I don't butcher his quote, but James Baldwin said that though we don't wholly believe it yet, the internal life is a real life.
That's right.
And the intangible dreams and our intangible dreams have a tangible impact. So the call to action is for us to know this thing called self.
Yeah. One of my defining moments was when I realized that I actually was in a relationship with myself.
Please.
And there was nothing that showed me or taught me that. It was just this one moment, and I was the Shiro. I can save a person. I can talk you off a cliff. I can come running out there at 9 o'clock at night, or, to help you with something and to tell somebody something for you at the time. And what I recognized in this one moment, I had this epiphany that if I had treated other people the way that I was treating myself, that my entire identity, the entire way that I saw myself would shift, because I was indifferent, I was impatient, I was unkind, and
me too.
Rude, just downright rude. And then I had this
on my way someplace.
Seriously, and it'd be like, we don't have time for that. We got stuff to do. We got a list. We got to work. We got this. We have that. We have somebody needs us, right? And I didn't realize until that moment that there was this whole conversation happening. There was an entire relationship that was being built that I was not even consciously aware of. And if I had to rate my friendship and relationship with myself, I'd have left myself. It was not good.
Absolutely.
It wasn't good. But it was beautiful, because it was in that moment that I began to take accountability for what was actually happening in here. And it was in that moment that I learned and discovered that my eyes didn't always have to be out. It wasn't about making sure that other people were happy or that other people were attended to, that I mattered as well. And that there was that, and that what was happening outside of me was simply a reflection of what was truly happening on the inside. And because I wasn't able to see it and didn't recognize it at the time, it was being reflected outside of me.
Yeah. That's how much our life loves us.
Exactly.
That's how much our life loves us, that it creates external experiences that are meant to wake us up.
That's it.
To see the answer standing in front of us.
That's right. That's right. So when you're saying, or when we are saying, you know, you don't listen to me, I don't like how you don't listen to me, there's a question in there like, are you listening to yourself?
Absolutely.
Because that's what matters.
Absolutely.
And what happens in this relationship, whether you choose to move forward in it or not, is going to be a reflection of the level of accountability, self-accountability
that we have with ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I think that you've just given the audience something really powerful and precious to pay attention to. The moment we say, you're not, and pay attention to what we fill that blank in with, we have just given ourselves a perfect question to ask ourselves about who we are and how we are being with ourselves first, and with the world because of how we're being with ourselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I hope y'all are listening.
I hope they are. I have a feeling that they are, because it's important. It's so important.
It's everything.
And I think that we worry so much, or humans worry so much about, and it's an important thing to think about the ways that we relate to other people. Yeah. And I firmly believe, and have a testimony almost, that improve the relationship you're in with yourself, and every relationship around you will have to change.
Absolutely.
You may lose some things, or you may release some things. You may have to release some beliefs.
You will have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're moving,
exactly,
from that restricted thinking, and whatever holds that thinking in place.
That's right.
Will have to get out of the way, right?
That is correct.
In order to expand. In the Inner Fitness Revolution, I share 7 laws of self because, I wrote a book that talks about the self. And a lot of people don't even know that they have a self, as crazy as that is. And so many of us were taught that 4-letter word was almost like a curse word, that if you acknowledge yourself or pay attention to yourself, then you were being selfish. Right? It cannot be further from the truth, because it is through the self that we connect to our higher power. It is through the self that we connect with others. It is through the self that anything is created in our world and our experience. So that SELF becomes one of the most important 4-letter words on the planet.
That's right.
But you mentioned one of the 7 laws, and it is the law that is law number 3, and that is that a strong self strengthens every area of our lives.
That's right.
So if y'all out there know that there is a challenge in a particular area of your life, or you are seeing, a challenge across all areas of your life, know that inside of you, yourself is calling and needing attention that shores up its sense of itself to be able to meet the circumstances and grow beyond them, and do us the favor of healing, do us the favor of disconnecting from whatever limiting idea we have carried about ourself in that way. this stuff excites me. It just does.
HeraHub Carlsbad is a co-working space and member community designed to empower entrepreneurs. More than just a workspace, HeraHub Carlsbad is a business accelerator and a connected network of successful entrepreneurs. Imagine a collaborative, serene, and spa-inspired environment where you can thrive. Our unique community allows each member to be both a guide and a student, fostering leadership and continuous growth for both you and your business. Experience an uplifting, supportive atmosphere that will elevate your entrepreneurial journey. For more information about HeraHub Carlsbad or to schedule a tour, visit herahub.com/Carlsbad. We also have locations in Temecula, Irvine, Washington, D.C., and HeraHub Carlsbad is one of 3 HeraHub locations in San Diego, the others being in Mission Valley and La Jolla. Your book, The Fitness Revolution, comes
Inner
out,
Fitness
Inner
Revolution.
Fitness Revolution, excuse me, comes out in March.
Comes out in March.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but pre-order it. I mean, I'm not sure when this.
You can pre-order it because I have pre-ordered this
Yeah.
book. I'm
Have
looking
you?
forward
Fantastic.
to. I did.
That
I'm
makes
looking
me
forward
happy.
to it. What is?
I'll have to come back and we'll have to talk about it.
We'll have to talk
Yeah.
about it for sure when it comes out.
Yeah.
What has this work taught you about yourself?
Everything. Everything. I mean, I live a life where I am redefining myself daily. And I say that through the same frame of that effort acronym, extracting freedom from our restricted thinking. And I think it was the late 1990s, early 2000s when I woke up with Inner Fitness. And then a few years later, I woke up with this, from this dream, and this dream redesigned me. And you can actually watch the dream on YouTube. Go to Tina Lifford Dream, and it's a 5-minute film that I created that depicts the dream. But what the dream gave me was a way of looking at myself that made sense, that answered so many questions. It answered why I could, be confident in this area of my life and then have breakdown here. It answered it, and here's the basic answer. We look in the mirror, and this image that we see, we call it ourselves, without assigning anything special to the idea of a self, right? But in truth, the self inside of us is a range. And in the dream, I literally saw that in this range, we have the surviving self that behaves in a very specific way, the thriving self, which has its own characteristics, and the infinite self, which has its characteristics. And all of a sudden, it was like, oh my goodness. So when I am in worry, doubt, and fear, when I am acting like a reptile, in the wild, when I am afraid and I am judging, manipulating, protecting, or blaming, I'm in survival mode.
Yeah.
And when I am in this place of curiosity or openness, or optimism or generosity or inclusivity. And I'm trusting and affirming and praising. I'm in that thriving mode, and it feels
And it feels different in your body.
Completely.
Yes.
Completely.
Yeah.
And then the infinite self, it's like, oh, that's the peace that passes human understanding.
Yeah.
That's the presence of whatever name you want to call this thing that is greater than us, that holds us all. And when we are held, literally, we are held everywhere that it is. Oh my goodness, that's me too. So everything past that dream has been about, and the inner fitness revolution is about discovering how to intentionally thrive, how to intentionally and consciously understand that part of me that has the power and the love and the compassion necessary to hold the surviving self.
Yeah.
And help her grow beyond her, restricted thinking.
That's relationship. You've made reference to it, and it took me back to the start of the conversation when you shared about having been referred to as it. I believe that we are all a piece of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Of God.
Absolutely.
Of whatever it is,
Absolutely.
or whatever you want to,
whatever name you want to use.
whatever name you want to use. We're all a piece of it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
In this vessel, in this lifetime, Oof. With this name,
Oof.
As a Black woman,
Oof.
in this country,
Oof.
in our families.
Oof.
And it's for us to understand that we're in relationship with ourselves and to dive deep into creating a quality relationship with ourselves so that we can show up as more of it, because that's why we're here.
So can I just say that we could do a whole hour just going down that road, because I am so happy to be a Black woman today.
Yeah.
And, and the only reason I emphasize color is because it gets emphasized
for you
in this world, in form, right? And so I understand where I am. And I will tell you that when I think of where I come from, I think of one of the Inner Fitness Project's primary definitions of us, and that is that we are innately creative, resilient, empowered to choose how we respond, whole and worthy. And when I look out into the world and, understanding that we all are this byproduct of an evolutionary process. In most of that process, 500 million years of processing, a lot of what we carry in our nervous system was all about survival.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about just that that we carry that is specific to the human experience. When you go back to the very beginning, we did not move from a single cell amoeba to a 50 trillion or 72 trillion celled being without a very, very ingrained default to survival.
That's why we fall into it so easily,
That's
because
exactly
it's in
right.
there.
That's exactly
But we
right.
have to realize that that's not all.
That's
of who we
exactly
are.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And so the gift here is, somewhere along the way, there were lots and lots of adaptations. And one of the adaptations was consciousness.
Yeah.
And consciousness gives us the ability to challenge our default reactions. And so I am here at a time when I am really good. I'm really practiced at challenging my default idea of myself. And I think that that is important for these times.
I agree.
You can't tell me who I am.
That's right.
Because I know.
That's right.
Because I know. And I'm not guessing about it. I know. And if I know who I am, then your words, your agendas, your surviving self, your need to manipulate me for whatever, your need to keep your world in a way that makes you feel safe or whatever, I see it.
Right.
I'm not going to take you personally.
Right.
But I'm not going to make you the center of my being.
That is, if a listeners, if you get nothing else out of this entire conversation, it is that.
Yeah.
Fill yourself up.
Fill yourself up.
Fill yourself up.
With your self.
Be selfish. That's a radical be selfish. Be selfish.
Yes.
Because selfish
Yes.
is only means what you make out of it.
Yeah.
Right? And selfish could be, I'm going to pay attention
Yes.
to myself. That's a positive thing.
Yes.
It's only negative when we lose sight of our assignment.
Yes.
Which is to understand who we are.
Yes. Yes.
And
Understand
share
who we are and become a path for the more that we are, that is trying, that is committed to, expanding into form.
Yeah.
This is an extraordinary opportunity and miracle that we are in, and to be in it consciously.
It's a beautiful time to be alive.
It really is.
It is a beautiful time. Okay. I have some questions for you.
Lisan, I am ready for your questions.
Question number 1 is, if you had the opportunity to, what would you tell your younger self?
You don't need any guarantees.
Ooh.
Everything you need will show up as you need it. That's the guarantee.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. In this time, with everything that's happening in the world right now, what are a couple of things that you believe are critical to self-care and to inner fitness?
Lisan, that question is so juicy for me. And here's my answer.
Okay.
And I don't know how popular this answer will be.
I want to hear the unpopular answer, because we're being told a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I know that you're not going to just say the thing that's going to be the feel good pacifying thing. Let's do it.
The most important self-expanding, self-nurturing, self-healing choice that we can make is to tell ourselves the truth. And that's a big call to action, because we are born in a culture, whether it's this country or humanity, where the truth is oftentimes skirted. We are afraid of the truth. The problem with being afraid of the truth is that it disconnects you from a tie to your own self-alignment. It disconnects you from being aligned with yourself, because when we don't tell ourselves the truth audibly, or, just thinking in terms of it, a part of us knows that we are obscuring, we're avoiding, we're running, which means we are living our lives in survival, even if it looks like we are thriving. So, you may not be in a position to tell yourself the truth, in social settings or whatever.
Why? How could you not be in a position to tell yourself the truth?
Because you may have been taught by your family structure or your, some other authoritarian structure, that the truth is unacceptable in this space. But you can protect yourself from the demands of lying by telling yourself the truth. And it can look as simple as, okay, I am in great dis-ease right this moment. I am overwhelmed. I feel insecure. I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel that I am in a marriage that doesn't serve me. I feel like I have not shown up well as a parent. Whatever the truth is, you acknowledge it for yourself, because when you acknowledge it, you stop running from it. You stop being chased by it. And now you get to decide if you want to do something about it. What you can see, you can change.
That's right.
And if the call to action is self-acceptance and self-love, then we acknowledge where we are so that we can, without judgment, accept where we are, and then decide what we want to do.
Yeah.
And even if your decision is, I'm not tackling that right this moment, you are in a truthful relationship with yourself. You with you, aligned with yourself, is the greatest gift that we can give ourselves.
Yeah. There are two things that come out of that for me. One is we talked about the body, the bodies, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual bodies that we all walk around with.
The internal self.
Internal self.
Not that physical thing.
Right. And the answer to, or the feedback loop comes to us through the body, because you feel
That's right.
it.
That's exactly
when it's
right.
not right.
That's exactly
you
right.
You feel it.
That's exactly right.
And so paying attention to where you feel it, or paying
Absolutely.
attention to the pattern of that sensation. When does it pop up? What am I doing? What am I saying around the time that thing pops up that gives me insight into what's bothering me?
Yeah.
The other thing you said was you talked about the part of you. And I think that that's also a way of us understanding where we are and how deeply aligned we are, or truly aligned we are to ourselves. Because when you start seeing yourself in parts, it means that somewhere in here, there is a conflict that has had to separate you from yourself.
That's exactly right.
In order to survive.
That's exactly
whatever the situation is that either you have yourself in or that you've been put in.
Yes.
And so when you start hearing that language of a part of me wants to do this and a part of me wants to do that, that is indicative of the need to integrate those parts.
Absolutely.
But first you have to see them.
Absolutely.
And acknowledge them.
Absolutely.
And understand that you're in a relationship with yourself.
Absolutely.
And if you're not willing to tell the truth, the betrayal is
against yourself.
It's against yourself.
That's exactly right. If I tell myself the truth is a prompt that actually makes the work easier.
Exactly.
It makes the work
the
easier.
Effort is when you're like, get in that room, stay behind that that door.
Exactly. Yeah. Because the heart is clutching and there is this dis-ease inside when we are rejecting ourselves, judging ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, think of it in terms of just being in relationship with anyone, and particularly with a parent or someone you love. There is nothing more fulfilling and empowering and nothing feels safer when you risk saying something to someone that is difficult for you to say, and it is met with love and acceptance. And so that feeling we can give to ourselves simply by telling ourselves, okay, at the end of the day, I'm going to acknowledge the places where I ran earlier, just so you and me with me, knows that I know.
Yeah.
So that subconscious part of me can relax and know that I am connected, that we are on the same page, that I'm not creating some distance between us that can wind up really being a problem for us.
Yeah.
It's a vote of confidence and a statement of self-security.
There's relief there. Tina, how can we support you? Other than pre-ordering that book that comes out in March.
Yeah, March the 11th. The Inner Fitness Revolution. That's the name of the book.
Yes.
Yeah. And follow me across social media, YouTube, Instagram. I'm just now starting a TikTok. And go to my website. Check out what we're about. And, you mentioned the Little Book of Big Lies. And I will say this, that the Little Book of Big Lies, my first book, and it was chosen by Forbes as a must read in 2021. The Little Book of Big Lies taught us that we have taken on lies that distorted our sense of self and separated us from ourselves. And the Inner Fitness Revolution, every single page trades those lies for empowering truths.
Okay. So I recommend listeners that you first read The Little Book of Big Lies and then follow it up with The Inner Fitness Revolution so that you get the whole and complete gift that Tina Lifford has for us.
Yes.
About becoming empowered and living a more joyful self experience.
But pre-order the book regardless.
But pre-order the book now. And that'll kind of give you some fire under your butt to read the first one. So that's the call to action right there.
Yes.
Buy the book that's available. It was written in 2019 and was named a Forbes book you have to read in 2021. And the other one comes out in just a few short weeks. So get yourself to reading.
Yeah.
Tina, thank you.
Listen, this has been such a pleasure.
Likewise.
Such a pleasure.
Likewise.
Yeah.